If you're a major Samsung fan, then you probably have heard about the FE version that they've been making from their S series flagship. The Fan Edition was first released in 2020 with the S20 FE. However, with this S21 FE released in the year 2022, which doesn't quite make sense, but it still deserves the hype, or is it a little too late now that the S22 is just about to be released around the corner? My name is Ernest Loh, your latest community tech reviewer on this channel, and in this video I'm going to let you know if she is the phone for you. Roll that intro. I'd say Samsung played it really smart when it came to releasing the S20 FE a couple years ago, changing the landscape for most flagships while keeping most of the best internals and cutting costs so they could appeal to more users when it was released. And now with the S21 FE, it doesn't come off short either. I like the way it feels in my hands with its flat edge design, and it weighs relatively light at just 177 grams. While it does feel kinda cheap at first glance with its plastic back, the graphite color that we have here manages pretty decently when it comes to fingerprints, but still leaves some kind of smudges. But who doesn't use a phone cover, right? I know raw looks better, but always use protection for your phone. Noticeably, the side rails don't blend with the camera bump on the back like how it does with the original S21. So with the design cut they had to do with this phone, I'll give Samsung a commendable attempt for cutting costs where they can. Now let's talk about the main display. The AMOLED 2X HDR10 Plus display is notably one of the best in its class, as most Samsung displays are, reaching up to 1300 peak brightness and 120 Hz refresh rate to suit the buttery smooth One UI 4 in this model. It almost makes me feel as if my S9 Plus is in a desperate need of an upgrade. Scrolling through Instagram or YouTube just feels so fluid, and anything less than 120 Hz now just feels slow. But if you're constantly worrying if it eats up battery life, there is an option to switch to 60 Hz, but bear in mind that it's not gonna feel as special of a phone if you choose to do so. I did wish for it to come with an adaptive refresh rate for this 21st century dilemma of mine, but maybe Samsung is reserving that feature for the S22 lineup. I don't know, but it would be good. The overall design just feels oddly satisfying to look at, with very thin bezels and a tiny hole punch for its front-facing camera. It is hard to explain why I like it so much. But let's not forget, all this wouldn't matter if it weren't able to keep my secrets, which are crucial to national security and my dignity, secure. The thing with the S21 FE is that it comes with the optical fingerprint sensor that is safe. I mean, it's safe. It's gonna keep my secret safe, but it is a step down from the bigger brother, the flagship model, the S21, that has the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor that is more secure and faster. However, that is not a deal breaker. I'm not breaking up with her. I still like her. It's still good. It's a good trade-off. It's a good trade-off, is what I'm saying. Consuming content on the S21 FE with its bright display and decently loud dual speakers, which basically means it's firing from the earpiece and another speaker from the bottom. It's not immersive with the Dolby Atmos, but it is yet another cutback by Samsung in some regards, with the original S21 being tuned by AKG. However, to the untrained ear, you might not even tell the difference. The cameras, on the other hand, comes really close with the original S21, consisting of the 12 megapixel main camera and the 8 megapixel telephoto camera and the 12 megapixel ultra wide. Images are undoubtedly very Samsung-like, with very well balanced colors, sharp and detailed in most evenly lit settings, and remains considerably consistent throughout all the different focal lengths. Although the major step down from the 64 megapixel telephoto camera in the original S21, which might be something you use often. The 8 megapixel telephoto camera in the S21 FE is obviously the weakest link when compared to the 12 megapixel main camera. So, if capturing images from far away is your thing, you might want to look elsewhere with a better telephoto camera. Something of a neat tool within the camera settings I noticed is shot suggestions. When you have this enabled, there will be a small bubble in the viewfinder that will suggest the correct spot where you should aim the camera to, and simply align the shot to said bubble, and it will ultimately give you the best result of framing a photo. I believe this works to find the best sweet spot of an image that is perfectly balanced between highlights and shadows. Kinda neat for beginners who want to dive deeper into phone photography, who are still learning the basics of framing subjects, filling in the negative spaces, or even managing exposure levels. But if taking videos is more of your cup of tea, image quality is surely up there, with most of the flagships being able to capture up to 4K 60 and up to 960 frames per second at 1080p. However, exposure compensation is slightly noticeable when transitioning from dark to bright areas, and it doesn't have that finesse like the likes of the iPhone 13 or the 13 Pro. But I'm more than happy to see the progress Samsung's made with its image quality, keeping most of the skin tones intact and not so oversaturated like they were used to. Stabilization as well gets top marks for eliminating most footsteps and jitter when you're using it handheld. And there's also this option to enable super steady, but you'll only be able to record up to 1080p at 30 frames per second, and it's quite cropped in if you have the feature turned on. Image processing and all the animations combined feels as good as it does due to its 8GB of RAM and running on a Snapdragon 888 Exynos 2100 chipset. Our Geekbench scores surprisingly does better than the original S21 and even the S21 Ultra 5G, recording at 1052 for single core test and 3237 for the multi-core test. So you clearly get more performance in this phone, and it really shows in the way you interact with the UI and overall smoothness when switching between apps, gaming, or the fact in how videos and images have great outputs, to which also helped in the battery life consumption. I managed to get around almost 2 full days worth of use with its 4500 mAh battery, recording 4K footage, constantly taking photos, and even some light gaming. The 25 watts fast charger, however, did not come with the box, but if it did, it would take about 30 minutes to get you to a 50% charge. The Samsung S21 FE starts at Rm 2,899 or 978 Sing dollars and has the options of 128GB or the 256GB of storage. If you're a diehard Samsung fan, then I believe this S21 FE holds a very special place in terms of its flagship specs and a good value for money ratio. Ushering in the new year 2022 and possibly the upcoming S22, I do feel like the S21 FE, is a little bit overshadowed. But if you're the one to realize that all the flagship specs on the S21 and some of them are missing on the S21 FE, you might not even realize that. And if that is the case, then I believe that she is the one for you. I, for one, have fallen for its simplicity and its understated performance compared to the other flagship models that I used to own, like the S9 Plus. Then I gotta say that I am a fan. Follow me on OnlyFans. I don't have OnlyFans, I'm just kidding. Or am I?